You're watching today's TV-8. And this is News Now. This is TV-8 News at 10.
Good evening and thanks for being with us. I'm Steve Oswald.
And I'm Sarah Jarvis. 2 days ago, a small plane crashed in Newton. 4 people died.
Today, the victims were remembered in Kilduff, the hometown of 3 of them. It was a church service that drew nearly one-half the town. TV-8's Todd Megel has our story.
We pray for all of us gathered here and for all who mourn this day the loss of any loved one.
For 40 residents, or nearly half the town of Kilduff, the healing process has begun. They attended services in the only church in town and remembered a family that everyone knows, that everyone will miss.
We long to be back in the sun-drenched place where Ben is still driving his truck, and Margaret can be found sharing deep wisdom at the post office, and where Diana is still growing up too fast before our eyes.
Ben Vassaw, his wife Margaret, and daughter Diana died when their pleasure flight crashed in Newton Friday night. The pilot of the plane, Laverne Cunningham, also died. Witnesses say the single-engine Piper Cherokee crash-landed in the fog, its wings torn off, its nose crushed from the collision. The 4 occupants died on impact.
My daughter said she heard a big bang and she thought it was me. That's probably when the plane crashed.
We're talking to witnesses and looking at the scene and taking pictures, and then all the information will be given to the National Transportation Safety Board.
Transportation investigators say it may take more than a month to determine the actual cause of the plane crash, but townspeople here in Kilduff say it will take much longer to get over the deaths of the residents they call family. Todd Megel, TV-8 News.
And funeral services for the crash victims are set for later this week.
A gas barbecue grill is being blamed tonight for starting a fire in a Des Moines apartment complex. Firefighters were called to the Four Seasons apartments tonight. Upon arrival, they found a 3rd-floor apartment balcony in flames. The grill somehow caught the wooden balcony on fire, and the blaze soon spread into the apartment. No one at the apartment was injured, and firefighters on the scene say the damage runs into the thousands of dollars.
In Waco, the standoff is continuing with members of that religious cult there. The FBI says the cult leader, David Koresh, is becoming irritable and contradictory, refusing to end the siege. The FBI says Koresh is also haranguing negotiators on the phone in lengthy discussions of religion and his childhood. Koresh is also beaming loud music at federal agents in an effort to rattle them. The music was recorded by the cult leader. And in New York City, investigators continuing to probe through that gaping hole in the World Trade Center left by the bomb blast. The teams have yet to search the lowest levels of the parking garage. Also today, police dogs searched without success for any trace of a missing worker believed killed in that blast. Well, the nation is bracing for another round of cuts at U.S. military bases. U.S. Secretary of Defense Les Aspin told national television interviewers today the Pentagon will take suggestions from the Clinton administration and try to make them as fair as possible to all areas of the country. One thing's for sure, Aspin says the cuts will be big.
This is going to be the mother of all base closing lists. We need to integrate them and balance them and make sure that we're fair to the various regions of the country as we do it. But that list will go to the commission this next weekend.
Yesterday, senior Pentagon sources revealed that the Navy, the Army, and Air Force have presented Aspin with suggestions for closing up to 30 major military bases.
A number of weapons and a lot of cash are seized in New Orleans, and that's leading our world and national news headlines. New Orleans police coming up with the find after approaching 2 men in a van following a tip from a federal agent. The police met up with an AK-47 assault rifle when they tried to look inside the van. They rushed the 2 men and confiscated more than $45,000 in cash and more than a half-dozen weapons. It's not clear what the men were planning to do with the money. Is Supreme Court Justice Byron White retiring? He's the one seen here on the right. Or is that just a rumor? Today's Washington Post is reporting that White is considering retirement. He's 75 years old. President Kennedy appointed him to the High Court. And the U.S. troops are beginning their withdrawal from Somalia. These are pictures of the U.S. giving over some of the control in the area to Moroccan troops. A U.S. Marine committed suicide yesterday while in Somalia. It's not clear why. 6 other U.S. servicemen have died in the operation so far. And here's the other side of the coin in Somalia. Now that most of the hard work is complete there, some U.S. troops are enjoying what they don't get this time of year in many parts of the states: warm temperatures and ocean beaches.
Spring fever is rampant, though, among central Iowans this weekend, with temperatures in the upper 40s and lots of sunshine. Hundreds of folks heading outside to play, take a walk, or just soak up all that nice weather here in central Iowa. Spring, of course, 13 days away, but it sure seemed to burst into Iowa today anyway. At least this nice weather hit on today that most people, I said most people, had the day off. All right, well, Jason's back in the TV-8 weather factory tonight.
Hopefully making up another forecast just like the one today. Jason?
Well, it sure looks that way, and I'll tell you, you really can't argue with the forecast, because tomorrow, looking at partly sunny skies, much like today, a high in the middle 40s with wind out of the northwest at 10 to 20. And the good news for Tuesday, it looks like we're looking at more highs in the 40s. I'll have details coming up in weather.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Next, we have a story of a teen who went on a deadly shooting rampage after being punished for bad grades.
Is the remote control your only connection to MTV's Spring Break?
And let the craziness begin. It's spring break time. TV-8's Martin Augustine with the plans of Iowa students next. A Texas teenager went on a shooting rampage this weekend.
And when it was over, the teen was dead, a police officer was dead, and 3 people were injured. Authorities say 14-year-old Juan Ramon barricaded himself inside his home and began shooting. He apparently was upset because he got a bad grade on a report card. Residents in the area say Ramon started shooting at anything that moved outside his home. The first officer on the scene was hit a number of times, and those backing him up were unable to rescue him. The 14-year-old's father is also a police officer. An autopsy shows the boy was killed by an officer's bullets. It was not self-inflicted. The other 3 shot in the incident are in serious condition.
3 families in Orange City, Florida are in jeopardy of losing their homes to a sinkhole. Actually, there are 2 sinkholes. One of them is 180 feet across and 100 feet deep, and it's growing. The families have been evacuated. There are as many as 12 homes in danger at this time, and there is speculation tonight that the 2 sinkholes could be connected. Well, there's something strange in the air lately. Maybe you've noticed it. It's the sun. Our shining star seems to have been hibernating this winter.
And only in the last couple of days have we seen the sun finally melt away some of our snow. And the sun's reappearance has some people planning ahead. TV-8's Martin Augustine tells us who.
It seems like it's been ages since we've been able to play catch in the park. There's just been too much of this, this, and this. But the last couple of days have been a walk in the park. It's also the time a young person's fancy turns to...
Enter to win the MTV Spring Break Survival Kit.
That's right, Spring Break.
Being somewhere where it's warm, it's going to be more conducive to having a better time, I think.
Benel, her friend Heather Barr, and 22 other people are jetting to Acapulco.
Considering the weather, the way it's been lately, everybody just wants to get away and escape all the snow and slush and all that.
They're flying down south on a package deal, something they say more and more of their fellow students are doing to save money. Many others are planning shorter spring break trips, but the key is just to get away. For many students, spring break causes something of a herding instinct, which is why the Acapulco trip got so popular.
The more the people decided to go, the more everybody was like, yeah, let's go, let's go.
And the sunny weather we're getting now is just whetting the sun worshippers' appetites for more.
Be prepared to conquer the beach.
It's wonderful. I hope it stays this way.
Martin Augustine, TV-8 News.
All right.
Jason, is it going to stay this way?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe a little bit, at least for a couple days. Doesn't seem like a start to a girls' basketball tournament week, but in fact it is, and I'll tell you all about it coming up next. Well, the moon, for some reason, is very close to the Earth, the closest it's been since December of '91, so it kind of gave a very large impression tonight. Actually, for the next 48 hours, it'll be that way. So if you have a chance, get out and see it. And tonight might be the best night. It'll be partly cloudy at 10 o'clock. Temperature is 37 degrees. Winds are out of the west at 9. We have a dew point of 33 degrees. Humidity is 85%, and the barometer is steady at 29.84. Well, for tonight, it looks like our friend Patchy Fog won't be paying another return visit, but some clouds will be in its place. Up to the northeast especially, they'll have considerable cloudiness. We'll have winds out of the northwest blowing some things around at 5 to 15 miles per hour. And temperatures looking pretty much the same as they did last night, mid-20s to the north, upper 20s to around 30 degrees down to the south. But for most of the state, partly cloudy skies, so you should be able to get a good glimpse of that moon tonight. Now, for tomorrow, we're going to get a glimpse of sun. It's going to be very nice, partly sunny skies around the entire state. Winds gusting up to 20 miles per hour out of the northwest. Temperatures 40 to 42 up to the north, and anywhere from 45 to around 50 degrees down in the southwest corner. The closest we have to 50 right now is down in Ottumwa, where they have 40 degrees. Burlington is in at 38, and several right up in the upper 30s. Mason City's checking in at 36. At 1 o'clock today, we reached all the way up to 49 degrees after a morning low of 32, and our normals for this time of year are 24 and 42. We're on the as for the highs, only a few checking in the 30s, or right up there in the upper 30s, though, or Mason City and Fort Dodge checking in at 39. Spencer at 40, and several right down in the 50-degree mark, with Ottumwa checking in at plus 50 at 54 degrees. Around the central Iowa area, Sheraton for the second day in a row made it into the double nickel club. Indianola not far behind at 52, and 40 stretching all the way up into Iowa Falls, where they had a nice day, 42 degrees and sunshine. Around the rest of the country, some warm Chinook air moving off the Rockies into Denver, giving them 65 degrees. For the second day in a row, Glendale, California in at 90 degrees, but not quite a record for them. Is 82 degrees down in Brownsville, and the only cool spot really was up in Caribou, where they had 22 degrees. As for the satellite loop, we're going to take a look at some light snow that got out of the state early this morning, heading down to the southeast, and clouds will be taking its place for the next couple of days. And off to the west, looks like our next weather maker in the form of some snow. Now that'll be changing, or rain rather, that'll be changing over to snow as it meets up with this cooler air. And off to the east, they're going to see some more snow as some lake effect snow begins to spin off up into the northeast, but it won't be quite as bad as it's been. As for the rest of the country, high pressure should be dominating it, giving it some nice clear skies and great temperatures as we head into the work week. Now let's look at our forecast for Des Moines and central Iowa. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a high or low near 30, and northwest winds at 10 to 15. For tomorrow, partly sunny again, and we'll see a high in the middle 40s. It's a northwest wind at 10 to 20, diminishing by the afternoon. Monday night, mostly cloudy, a low around 30, and on Tuesday, mostly cloudy, a high in the middle 40s. On the extended forecast, chance of snow, of course, on Wednesday. It wouldn't be tournament week without it. Thursday and Friday are dry, and highs are going to be right up in the 30s, lows anywhere from 10 to 20. So, looks like a great week in store, and I think we can muddle through it.
Thanks for not disappointing us on tournament week, and a pretty nice forecast, actually, in the short term, and it's cheaper than a trip to Acapulco.
There you go.
All right, Jason, thanks.
Good point. Good point. Well, mud is still causing some problems for southern Iowa school buses, so the following schools will have buses run on hard surface roads only tomorrow: Centerville, Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont, and Cardinal of Eldon.
And Jeff Johnson will be here next with a look at sports.
And a tough loss for Drake. That story coming up. What a nail-biter for Drake today.
Yeah, at 5 o'clock we told you Drake and Illinois State have had a lot of close games, and Illinois State usually pulls them out. Unfortunately, that happened again. For a while today, it looked like the Drake Bulldogs would get to play for the Missouri Valley Championship, but yet again, Illinois State would pull out the victory. Great first half. You saw it here on TV-8. Kurt Smith will set up Clayton Allen for the beautiful alley-oop slam. Drake up a dozen at the break. Illinois State came roaring back in the second half. Todd Windhainer tossed